up, guys? Movie Junkie here again, and I apologize for this late upload. I've been struggling recently with some issues with my tonsils, and I literally could not speak last week. So, after a bout of antibiotics, I am happy to be at it again. So, let's talk about Pokemon Detective Pikachu, directed by Rob Letterman and starring the voice talents of Ryan Reynolds, Justice Smith, Catherine Newton, and Bill Nighy. Detective Pikachu is a movie in the Pokemon world. It's about Justice's character who has lost his dad, and in trying to find him, he comes across this little Pikachu that he can actually understand what he's saying, and vice versa. So they decide to team up and figure out what happened to his dad. Now, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Pokemon fan. Don't worry about the hat, I just like the hat. But I did grow up with more of the anime than the games. I didn't really play a lot of the games, but I was definitely on board for the anime. I remember the craze behind that television show and how much everybody loved it. And like most people, I'm familiar with most of the Pokemon. But the thing that really drew me to this, and I think it's the same thing that you would hear most people saying, is that somehow Ryan Reynolds' voice coming out of this cute little yellow furry dude seemed to work, at least in the trailer, so I wanted to check it out. So what did I think? I think overall this movie works. It's actually very entertaining. So let's get into the pluses first. First of all, like I said, Ryan Reynolds, to me, he is, I would say, 70% the strength of this movie. I'm not sure how well this movie would have worked with somebody else doing the voice work. Ryan just has a knack for comedic timing, and it just works really well with this character. He's cute, you know, you never really forget that it's Ryan's voice you're hearing, but somehow it still works. As for the look of this movie, I have to say I think it's one of the strongest elements of this film. Rhyme City, I think it's called. It looks like a real city. It actually looks like a real place. It reminded me a tad of Zootopia, of all things. I don't know why, but it works. It actually felt like a lived-in place. You could believe that people and Pokemon coexisted. The animation, the effects they used to make these Pokemon, especially Pikachu, is so good. You know, I kept staring at his fur, his eyes, his motions, you know. And overall, I think fans of Pokemon are gonna have a blast, especially people who've stuck with it, who play the games and so forth, are gonna have a blast the same way I did with Ready Player One, in pointing out all of your favorite characters and everybody that you could spot in this. Story wise, this is me getting into the negatives here a bit. The story is your generic story. It is nothing really amazing here in terms of the storytelling. But the thing about it is, I don't think that's that big a deal when it comes to this type of movie. I don't think people are going into this movie really invested into the story. They're going for the Pokemon, to see the Pokemon battles. And by the way, the action sequences with the Pokemon are very well executed. It looks amazing, actually. It looks really well done. And I think that is where this movie delivers. In terms of story, it's pretty by the book. You know, you're gonna know who the villain is from the word go, especially if you're familiar with, you know, it's like when you watch an episode of Law and Order SVU and the guest star that night is some famous person, then you know, there you go, there's your villain. So it's not, there's nothing here that's gonna surprise anybody that's seeing it. The human cast, I should say, they're fine. They don't really add anything to this movie. Justice Smith, the only other movie I really know him from is the Jurassic World movie, and in that movie he was very over the top, you know, a tad annoying. You know, kind of could get on your nerves here and there. Here he's very dialed down. It's like way to the opposite end of the spectrum, and it almost feels at times like he's a bit too down and too serious for what this movie is, you know. Pokemon, you know, you just know the human characters, at least in the television show, were always very hopeful, very upbeat. Here he is dealing with the alleged loss of his father, so to speak, but this dude is like dark and down, and the movie does have these emotional beats, and a couple of them do land really well. But the human characters, like I said, it's a generic villain story, generic sidekick story, you know, cute girl, that kind of thing. They don't really add anything at all to this. So, what would I say about this movie? I will say that for what it is, a live action Pokemon movie, they knocked it out the park, really. I don't think you could really get anything more from this. It's not like if they had a well of deep, complex stories to choose from. So, from what they're working with, which I think is more the video game than the television show, I think they delivered what they were trying to deliver. The director, Rob Letterman, he's done, I think, his Goosebumps before this. So, you know, it's basically on par with that, in my opinion. And I would say it's a 6.5 out of 10. It's an entertaining film. Kids will love it. Fans of the Pokemon Pokemon universe will love it. It's like I said, visually it's really good, and Ryan Reynolds basically carries this movie. He is the strength of this film. So 6.5 out of 10. And that's it for this, guys. So again, my apologies for the late upload on this, but like I said, I had no voice. I could not record last week. I'm gonna be bringing you John Wick 3 very soon, as well as Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So until next time, guys. Bye bye.